A chimpanzee named Flo died in a Tanzanian forest in 1972. Her grown son, Flint, was unusually bonded to her. In the days after, he stopped eating. He withdrew from the troop. He returned to the spot where she died and simply sat there. A month later, Flint was dead, and he hadn't been sick. Something in him decided to stop. The question that has haunted researchers for 50 years isn't whether he grieved, it's whether he understood. Those are not the same thing. An animal can feel a loss, ache at an absence, without ever holding the thought that death is permanent, and that one day it comes for them too. Grief is a feeling. Understanding death is a concept. We assume they travel together, but that's only because in us, they do. So here's the real question. Not whether animals grieve, whether they know death is coming for them. Start with what we can actually measure, because the rest is built on it. When a baboon loses a close member of its group, its body does something you'd recognize. Its cortisol spikes, the same stress hormone that floods your system in a moment of fear, not for an hour, for weeks afterward. Researchers studying wild baboons found that the animals who lost a close grooming partner showed elevated stress hormones and then did something telling. They expanded their social circles, reaching out, grooming more widely, as if compensating for something missing. This isn't a story we're projecting onto them. It's chemistry in a blood sample. The body registers the loss and pays a physical cost for it. But chemistry only tells you there was a reaction. It can't tell you what the animal was thinking. So look at the behavior that's harder to explain away. Elephants return to their dead. They find the bones of one of their own. Not just any bones, specifically elephant bones. And they stop. They touch them. They turn them over with their trunks, run the tips along the surfaces, linger over the skull and the tusks longer than over anything else. They'll do this with remains stripped bare by years, long after any scent of the individual is gone. A herd moving with purpose across a landscape will break that purpose to stand over a scatter of bones that means nothing to a predator and nothing to a scavenger. Whatever they're doing, it isn't feeding and it isn't fear. It's something else, and we don't have a clean word for it. And here's where it gets harder to dismiss, because the obvious objection is that these are just instincts, automatic responses, no thought behind them. And sometimes, that objection is exactly right. Consider the ant. When an ant dies, the colony carries it out to a refuse pile. It looks like a funeral. It is not. The ant isn't removed because it's dead. It's removed because, as the body decomposes, it releases a specific chemical, oleic acid. That smell is the trigger. The proof is brutal in its simplicity. If you take a living, healthy ant and dab oleic acid on it, its nestmates will pick it up and carry it to the corpse pile while it kicks and struggles, alive the whole way. They'll do it again the moment you put it back. To the colony, the smell is death. The ant is irrelevant. That is a stereotypical response. Pre-programmed, triggered by a stimulus. No understanding required. So that's the trap. Some reactions to death are pure machinery, and from the outside, machinery and grief can look identical, which is exactly what makes the next case so hard to file away. In 2018, an orca named Tahlequah gave birth to a calf that died within an hour. What she did next, the whole world watched. She wouldn't let the body sink. She carried it on her nose, balanced there, and when it slipped, she dove and retrieved it and lifted it again. She did this for 17 days, across roughly 1,000 miles of ocean, altering how she swam and how she hunted to keep a dead calf at the surface. Her pod stayed near, and scientists split, not over what she did, but over a single word for it. Some called it grief, a mother unable to let go of her child. Others insisted on caution. Maybe she didn't fully grasp that the calf was dead. Maybe she was caught in a loop of caregiving with no off switch, the instinct to keep her baby breathing running long after there was a baby left to save. Sit with that for a second, because the discomfort in it isn't really about the orca. We hold that same distinction over our own grief and never notice. When you can't accept that someone is gone, when part of you keeps expecting them to walk through the door, is that you misunderstanding death? Or is that you understanding it completely and refusing it anyway? The line between not grasping the loss and not bearing it is thinner than we pretend. We may not know where it falls in Tahlequah. We may not know where it falls in ourselves. Which brings us back to the question that's actually the strange one. Not whether animals grieve the dead, whether they know death is coming for them. And here, the evidence goes quiet. Not because the answer is no, but because we have almost no way to ask. There's a behavior people point to. Animals that withdraw, that leave the group, that go off alone as the end approaches. The dog that disappears under the porch. The elephant that separates from the herd. It's tempting to read this as an animal that knows. But it might be something simpler. A body seeking stillness, seeking dark and safety, the way you curl away from the world with a fever. Seeking quiet is not the same as knowing why you need it. That's the honest edge of this. We can measure the cortisol. We can film the elephants over the bones. We can count Tahlequah's 17 days. What we cannot do is get inside the one moment that would answer the question, whether, somewhere in that animal, there is the thought you carry every day without noticing. Not just that this one is gone, but that I too will end. So, do animals know they're going to die? Watch what they actually do. A grieving son refuses food until his own body gives out. A baboon walks around for weeks with the chemical residue of a loss it can't name. A magpie lays blades of grass beside a dead companion and stands there, for reasons no one has explained. A herd of elephants stops cold over a pile of anonymous bones. A mother drags her child's body through 1,000 miles of ocean rather than watch it sink. Pull back far enough, and the specifics blur into one shape. Across species that haven't shared an ancestor in tens of millions of years, death does something. It leaves a mark. It changes behavior in ways too consistent to be noise and too strange to be simple instinct. And still, not once in any of them can we prove the animal is thinking the thought you think, that this is what waits for me. And maybe that's the part worth sitting with. You've spent your life assuming you're the only creature at the table who can see the end coming, that this awareness is the lonely tax of being human. The science can't take that certainty from you, but it can't hand it back either. It can only leave you with the open possibility that the animal beside you carries some version of the same knowledge, quieter, wordless, but there, and has simply never had a way to tell you. The bones still stop the herd. The mother still won't let go. And whatever that means, it isn't nothing. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe. There's a lot more like it coming. See you in the next one.